and welcome to bankingfrontiers.live. We are into one very, very interesting global conversation on the area of fintechs. And as a part of our journey in targeting the fintechs in different global locations where the fintechs are highly working towards creating a vibrant ecosystem, today we go to Philippines. And I'm very, very happy to introduce you to a very charming lady. Amor Maclang is the convener of Digital Filipinas, Philippine FinTech Festival, One ASEAN FinTech Movement, and Executive Director and Trustee of FinTech Philippines Association. Amor, welcome to bankingfrontiers.live.
Welcome, and allow me to teach you what is probably your first Filipino word for many, mabuhay, which is be alive. So that's our traditional way to welcome.
Wonderful. Let's get into tracing a little bit about what has been the origin of Digital Filipina and how has the experience been for you in last so many years? What have you seen the way it has transformed in the last few years that you have set it up, and where are you going today?
So I think a lot of the inspiration really stemmed from the first time we unfurled the Philippine flag in what is the largest fintech festival in the world, which is the Singapore Fintech Festival. So in a way, we kind of trace our origins there. So we unveiled our first ever Philippine pavilion, and the incredible feeling of being able to put your country in the map for the first time, in the fintech map for the first time, representing what we at that time felt was the best and brightest that we had to offer in the technology, payments, and fintech space. And seeing so much interest from the rest of the world in our market, 110 million strong market, really created the impetus, right? The regional and global impetus for us to organize more formally. In the Philippines, there's already been what I call a reverse diaspora that has started sometime 2016 and even earlier, when some of the best and the brightest in the world has actually decided to move and domicile themselves to the Philippines, setting up their own technology companies, primarily in the payment space, blockchain space. I suppose because we have some of the most conducive elements for this industry, a very young and very mobile and very agile ecosystem. Our average age in the Philippines is around 25 to 30 years old, more like 25. Mobile first, primarily. There are actually more mobile phones than there are actual Filipinos. So those very elements that were present in China are in the Philippines, but add to that is a very open-minded regulatory environment. And this has started not just that reverse diaspora in the fintech and payment space, but also at the same time is really a flourishing of the fintech space. And many of you probably don't know the fact that the beginnings of fintech could probably be traced in the Philippines. What with smart money coming in, some of the biggest telcos really started with electronic money. The two biggest telcos in the Philippines, Globe and Smart, has started this trend. It started with texting. We are, after all, the texting capital of the world, aside from being the social media capital of the world, aside from being one of the top crypto adopters in the world, and aside from being one of the remittance players in the world. So all of these elements of mass tech adoption really has created for us this perfect storm of fintech revolution, of this fintech revolution.
Interesting. In fact, I have been reading a lot about how the revolution has been happening in the Philippines, and obviously, so that it is one of the remittance capitals of the world, and blockchain, as well as the digital payments, has really taken a lot of interesting flow into the market. That basically, actually, you answered a little bit of my second question also, which are those technologies that have been making an impact into the Philippine fintech market, which are doing well in the local market on one side, and what is it that Philippines is exporting in fintech to the global world?
Leading pillars in the space would be in payments and remittance. That has been at the beginning, and primarily, I think, because of the predominance of overseas Filipino workers, right, all over the world. Now, what is first to evolve has been blockchain technologies, especially in the remittance space. So we've had pioneers like coins.ph, which has really grown to be one of the largest crypto and blockchain based wallets. And it has been because of the need. So those very elements, money transfers, also sometime 2018, 2019, POCs between countries such as the Philippines and Singapore have been undertaken by banks like Union Bank. And there's this project that I was initially involved in called I2I, which was all about blockchain remittance. The intent is really to lower the cost of transfers, no? For our OFWs. So that's one. Now, so blockchain in remittance, which has then given way to the use of blockchain in the crypto speculation space. Now, that is going to be a very controversial topic because of all the ongoing issues related to the industry, the ongoing crypto winter. But aside from crypto as a use case, there's also blockchain use cases in content creation, in NFTs, where the Philippines is also leading the way. There's also been a lot of interest in cybersecurity in the Philippines. So that is in a way a result of our high usage in crypto. So there's really an opportunity to step in, regulate this particular space, because with or without regulation, it's just going to move forward.
Fantastic. I think that's a lot of inspiring work that is happening there. And of course, the world is today working about how this great animal, which is let loose, called as the crypto, can be brought in together, and it can probably be regulated to give that trust element so that everyone can, to some extent or the other, use this wonderful innovation, which can be used for the benefit of the mankind. So which are those markets where Philippines is trying to look into or enter into, or the Filipino fintechs have been looking to enter into? And what success rates have you been seeing in those markets? And what is the kind of association that is happening?
Okay, so as we speak right now, our first ever unicorn, GCash, is presenting in Barcelona for the World Mobile Congress. So how interesting, right? How a traditional telco-oriented conference and congress is now accommodating for the fintech and payments narrative. So GCash for us, I would always tell their CEO Martha and their chairman Ernest how they are our national animal, a unicorn named GCash. And our second unicorn is actually another wallet named Maya. And so these are wallets that have a high potential for cross-border integration. I think the former rather than the latter, because they're part of the Ant Financial ecosystem. We always talk about the hyper specialization that goes with digital banks. This type of hyper specialization cannot be done by traditional banks, but it also gives it the kind of flexibility to go cross-border. That's one. Also, at the same time, they have recently partnered with another partner of ours, Proxtera, which is the program between IFC and also at the same time the Monetary Authority of Singapore for SME financial education. And what we're seeing here is that digital banks could potentially be, along with blockchain and crypto adoption, could be our next great potential export. Look, the US and North America, I think, would probably have what, 10 digital banking licenses. Europe has 15 approximately, and Asia has 40. And out of that 40, the Philippines has 6, and only because our central bank has put a cap on it, right? And it's not for lack of applicants overall in the industry. I mean, we're getting interests from digital banks like from Russia and Europe to try to come into the Philippines, but there has really been a cap. I've had the chance to work with the official digital bank of the Philippines, which is OF Bank, something that's specifically dedicated to the needs of our overseas Filipino workers. And so, yeah, I think crypto, blockchain related fintechs and also our digital banks could potentially be our great exports. Now, let me share with you where I think a great potential could be, but has not yet been optimized, which is in the predictive lending space, the embedded lending and the predictive lending space. I think once we're able to, crack that code in predictive lending, then we could truly crack the code on financial exclusion. And unfortunately, before, with the proliferation of many unethical lenders from certain markets, there has really been a tough crackdown on lending. But now, with the introduction of AI and predictive lending, and the use of alternative credit scores from things like not just phone records, but did you know, Babu, that the amount of charge and battery in your phone can actually be a good indicator of your credit worthiness, right? Can you imagine?
Wow.
The more battery life you have, the more credit worthy you are. So the use of alternative credit score together with traditional credit scores, or even the independent use of alternative credit scores, can actually create a composite that could really truly liberalize ethical lending. Because the Philippines, at the very least, there is a stigma that comes with lending, and we need to address that, the stigma, and then address the stigma, then couple it with the technology and the governance, and also the data, the big data that comes with it, can really be a great opportunity for us in the Philippines. So lending.
Wonderful. I think that's pretty inspiring. How have you been working with the regulators and with the ecosystems, bringing them together to create a favorable ecosystem within the country as well as globally?
Okay, so first and foremost, I'm extremely proud of the regulators in ASEAN. You have probably some of the most progressive regulators in the region, and I have witnessed that firsthand. In the Philippines, for example, I've had chats with my chairman in the FinTech Philippines Association, Dr. Tito Ortiz, the father of FinTech in the Philippines, and he'd say, Amor, what market would you see has vast licenses? There's been 3 issued thus far, 2 or 3 issued thus far here in the Philippines. Constant engagement with the private sector, right? In the space, for example, of open finance. Or I've had the opportunity to witness how Assistant Governor Siritida of the Bank of Thailand, when they launched the retail CBDC hackathon and pitch fest, right? In the last BOT Digital Finance Festival, or in working with Patriono in OJK and seeing them champion wealth tech, fintech, and also insurtech opportunities in Indonesia. We have some of the most progressive regulators in the world, but I challenge all of you. And this is what we're espousing in Digital Pilipinas. We must expand how we define regulators. So in Digital Pilipinas, we must look beyond payments and lending or even securities. What we have done is we have a technical working group that is looking to support the digitalization of 12 critical industries. And each of those industries, from logistics to education to health, right, all the way to insurance and so on and so forth, have their own specific regulators, from the trade and industry to the Department of Science and Technology. They have their own regulators, directly or indirectly, and they must be looped in. So we call this a whole of nation and a whole of government approach. So while historically the securities and the central banks have been invoked, we also need to look at the various national line agencies that somehow has had a stake in digitalization. So in the Philippines, it has been the Department of Information, Communications and Technology, the Department of Science and Technology, and also the Department of Trade and Industry, all working together to create a favorable ecosystem, whether it's in enabling startups, enabling investments, or enabling businesses and enabling regulation.
Interesting. Any specific geographies you are planning to expand into, especially tie-ups? Right now, you are anyways very strongly embedded into Singapore and ASEAN. How about the rest of the world? Where are you strong at? And where are you planning to target?
ASEAN is always going to be family. And as a matter of fact, I think this is the first time ever that the various fintech markets are regularly touching base with each other, just exchanging notes, catching up, promising to treat each other to lunch whenever we're together. It's incredible. The camaraderie is just incredible. And one of our key objectives is to really get the rest of the world to look at October, November, and December, that particular quarter, as one ASEAN FinTech quarter, right? So for this year, the Philippines has declared the opening from October 3 to 6. A lot of various activities focusing on the Philippines, and then the region is opening at that time. Of course, Singapore has already declared November 13 to 15. I think I hope I'm quoting Pat of Elevandi correctly. And then within that particular time frame, give or take a few weeks, would be Indonesia, Cambodia, Thailand, and hopefully Malaysia. Now, so ASEAN will always be family. It will always be our home base, and we will always be working together to try to get everyone to do a hop on, hop off bus for fintech during this time. So you can see a more concentrated effort this year. Now, the other regions that we really are focused on connecting would be Africa. The dialogue between ASEAN and Africa will happen and kick off sometime this month in June. We had some initial foray last year, also working through the Monetary Authority of Singapore with certain project pilots initiated by CFTO Sapnando Mohanty. Also at the same time, you are aware of our partnership with the government of Israel. We have a country partnership with the Israel FinTech Center, and many of the VCs and startups in that space were looking specifically at the agri-tech space there. I would like to invite everyone to drop what they're doing and be in the Japan FinTech Festival from March 27, and then segue to FinSum from the 28th to the 31st of March. We will see you there. Today, we're actually inaugurating our partnership with the UK government for the Southeast Asia Tech Week, and then leading up to London Tech Week. And we're so grateful for their commitment to actually organize an ASEAN contingent that will land in the Philippines during Philippine FinTech Festival. Then coming in June also is the partnership, the European partnership with Switzerland for the Point Zero Forum. And of course, how can I forget the first Joint Economic Commission that started it all with Hungary. So I hope I did not forget. Oh, and another Asian sister is of course Hong Kong. So our work will continue with the Hong Kong Trade Development Council and Hong Kong Invest in the areas not just of fintech, but also wealth tech. As you can see, the intent here is actually to create bridges, digital economy bridges between our regions. And we look forward to having one with you as well for North America, Babu.
Wonderful. We should definitely look at taking forward that in North America. I'm really excited to see and inspired to see the great work you have been doing. Glad to be of any kind of support as a media, as an ecosystem, and as a community builder for the financial services sector and the fintech sector. Glad to extend all possible support to you. Thank you very much for such a wonderful conversation. Look forward to more such interactions.
Thank you so much, Babu. I'm so
Thank you.
grateful.
Thank you and salamat once again.
Maraming salamat po.